once again, another report has come out about wide receiver Tee Higgins. And I know yesterday we talked about the contract with Tee Higgins, and probably tomorrow we're going to talk about the contract with Tee Higgins again. But there's reports coming out every single day about Tee Higgins that are bringing new news. So I'm going to present that new news. But before we jump into it, you guys got us to, we're at 650 subscribers right now. Since the last time I posted, which we were about 550, so we're progressing pretty much 100 subscribers per day. So I want to thank you so much for that. 10% of you are subscribed right now, so let's flip that number to 80% subscribers that are watching. I thank you guys so much for all the love you have shown the channel so far, and let's continue to build it. But let's jump right in. And this is finally positive news on report about Tee Higgins. Positive update on Bengals keeping Tee Higgins. Finally some good news to report. Yep, I'm excited about good news surrounding Tee Higgins. Will the Cincinnati Bengals finally pay Tee Higgins? With NFL free agency inching closer, the Bengals have a very stressful couple of weeks coming up. Will they sign Tee Higgins to a long-term deal? Will they use the franchise tag for a second straight year? Or will they bundle this up and let Higgins walk for nothing? Please, God, no. We finally have a positive update to share, and it comes from Bleacher Report's James Palmer, who says the buzz is that Cincinnati is looking like the favorite for where Higgins will be next season. This is coming from the CincyJungle.com. They do a lot of great articles, so go check them out. Let me read that again. Reporter from the Bleacher Report, James Palmer, says the buzz is that Cincinnati is looking like the favorite for Higgins moving forward. Here's his quote. Right now, the buzz is there's a greater chance of him returning to Cincinnati than going elsewhere. That really is the talk here in New Orleans. Obviously, press row is going on in New Orleans right now for the Super Bowl. There's a lot of people doing interviews, including Joe Burrow, Trey Hendrickson. A lot of guys are doing interviews. Jamar Chase down in New Orleans getting ready for the Super Bowl, and then the NFL Honor Awards that were just held tonight. I'll be talking about that as well. But then he said that is really the talk here in New Orleans, press row, that there's a greater chance of him coming back to Cincinnati than him hitting the open market. I've said that. I think Cincinnati actually is the betting favorite for Cincinnati, or Cincinnati is the betting favorite to land Tee Higgins. Which sounds weird to say land Tee Higgins because he's been on the Cincinnati Bengals for his whole career. But as of right now, he's a free agent. He isn't a Cincinnati Bengal. He's not on any other team right now currently. But I would think Cincinnati is the betting favorite, including what else came out from Press Row. This was on Breakfast Ball this morning. Joe Burrow says he'd, of course, that's a direct quote, Joe Burrow, end quote, of course, end quote, will restructure his contract to keep the Bengals core together, and he has faith in the Bengals ownership. This is another quote from Joe Burrow. I do. We have the cap space to get it done. Trey, T, Jamar, and Mike G, we all want to play together. So they were asking him if Joe Burrow thought it was realistic for everybody to come back and be a Cincinnati Bengal. And this is when he said, I do. We have the cap space to get it done. Trey, T, Jamar, and Mike G, we all want to play together. And then the host went on to ask a follow-up question, what if the ownership sat you down and saying the only way to do that is to restructure your contract? Would you be willing to do that? And he said, of course. And I've said this a lot of times. I think Joe Burrow is willing to restructure his contract to make sure that his weapons, Jamar Chase and Tee Higgins, can stay on the Bengals, but then also everybody else, including Mike G and Trey Hendrickson and a bunch of other guys. I truly believe now with this, I think this is Joe Burrow's kind of statement to the front office, like, hey, call me right now. Let's set up a meeting. Let's restructure my contract to make it available for us to re-sign all of these guys. I think that's what Joe Burrow is doing with all the media he's talked to in the last few weeks, especially this morning, was getting the front office to realize, hey, I will restructure my contract. Willingly restructure my contract to get these guys their deals. And I called it from the beginning, and a lot of you guys said I was wrong, so I'm very happy that I was right. But I think, in all honesty, I think it's the smart thing for Joe Burrow to do is to restructure the contract. I've talked about my opinions based off how much money people are getting, especially the wide receivers. But I said Joe Burrow, for the Cincinnati Bengals to likely win a Super Bowl ever with Joe Burrow, he has to go about it how Tom Brady went about it. He was taking about $20 million a year so that New England had enough money to continue to re-sign their key players and go out and get other key players to build upon that success. It's a lot harder to do that when you're paying a quarterback $45 million a year. I know that's not all included into the cap space. There's a bunch of different ways how the contract works, but we're paying Joe Burrow $45 million a year, which takes up a lot of percentages of the overall cap space. So if you can restructure that contract, not telling Joe Burrow to take half the contract, go down to $20 million, I would be all for it if Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals released a statement saying they restructured it at $20 million a year. That would be probably the best contract in NFL history. But I think a restructure of Joe Burrow's contract is the best option to make sure and solidify the fact that every single Bengal who needs a contract will be a Cincinnati Bengal next season. I think it's the easiest and most effective way to get it done. But like I said, the NFL awards were tonight, where they gave out the Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, and the Cincinnati Bengals, to be blunt, were snubbed of many awards. I'll jump right into that. One guy did win an award. Joe Burrow was up for 2 awards. He was up for MVP and Comeback Player of the Year. Joe Burrow won Comeback Player of the Year, obviously coming back from his wrist injury, and still led the league in passing yards and passing touchdowns. He finished 4th in MVP voting and didn't get one. He did not get one vote for first place, which I think is absolutely bizarre. But at least a Cincinnati Bengal won something. 2 other guys who clearly deserved awards didn't get anything. Jamar Chase, the youngest player ever to win a Triple Crown and win it comfortably, not saying everybody else who hasn't won a Triple Crown didn't win it comfortably, but he won the Triple Crown comfortably, finished third in Offensive Player of the Year. The Offensive Player of the Year award went to Saquon Barkley. He had an amazing season, rushing for over 2,000 yards. But a 2,000 rushing season is a lot more common than a Triple Crown. It has only happened six times in NFL history or Super Bowl era history where a wide receiver has won the Triple Crown. And Jamar Chase is the youngest player to ever win the Triple Crown, and he broke multiple other records, Cincinnati records, and NFL records this season. And he finished 3rd in Offensive Player of the Year. How do you have a wide receiver, the youngest to ever win the Triple Crown, lead the league in receptions, lead the league in receiving yards, lead the lead in touchdowns, and he gets 3rd place in the Offensive Player Award? That makes no sense. And then Trey Hendrickson, he got 2nd behind Pat Surtain for the Defensive Player of the Year. How is the sack leader, when the Defensive Player of the Year has been known as an edge rusher award, how is the sack leader of the NFL not win the Defensive Player of the Year? Since 2024, who has the most sacks? Trey Hendrickson. Since 2023, who has the most sacks? Trey Hendrickson. Since 2022, who has the most sacks? Trey Hendrickson. Since 2021, who has the most sacks? Trey Hendrickson. Since 2020, who has the most sacks? Trey Hendrickson. How has Trey Hendrickson not won a Defensive Player of the Year? Especially after coming off a 17.5 back-to-back 2 seasons in a row with 17.5 sacks, and this season leads the league in sacks when the Defensive Player of the Year award is proven to be a defensive edge award, not win. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. And even Joe Burrow, he won the Comeback Player of the Year, though, but he was 4th in MVP. 4th in MVP. I promise you, Joe Burrow, if we're going to exactly what MVP means, most valuable player to their team, Joe Burrow is more valuable to the Cincinnati Bengals than Josh Allen is to the Buffalo Bills and Lamar Jackson is to the Baltimore Ravens, without a doubt in my mind. What I would have done, I would have had Saquon Barkley win MVP. I think he was the most valuable player to his team in the entirety of the NFL. I think Saquon Barkley is the reason why the Eagles are in the Super Bowl. So I would have given Saquon Barkley MVP. Then my Offensive Player of the Year would have gone to Jamar Chase because Saquon would have just won the MVP. Jamar Chase, Offensive Player of the Year, youngest guy to ever win the Triple Crown. And then my Defensive Player of the Year would have been Trey Hendrickson, most sacks in the last couple years combined, and then led the league in sacks this year with back-to-back seasons with 17.5 sacks. It doesn't make sense to me. I think the NFL hates the Cincinnati Bengals for whatever reason. We didn't do anything. We haven't won a Super Bowl. We have never been a dynasty. We just sit here in a small market in vibe and have the best quarterback in NFL history. But anyways, that was a little rant, not really. But thank you guys so much for watching the Bengals Digest channel. Obviously, going forward, there will be a lot more contract videos regarding 3 big guys. Obviously, well, maybe even 4 now. 5, actually. We're probably going to be talking about Joe Burrow, what he's going to do with his contract, if it is going to be restructured or not. Then Jamar Chase, it's looking like that contract is going to be record-breaking and is going to happen. Tee Higgins, it's a coin flip. Doesn't know if it's going to happen or not. Trey Hendrickson, looking most likely that it will, but in the next couple weeks or next week, it's either going to be pay me or trade me. We'll talk about that. Then Mike Gesicki is the next guy I'm talking about. Whether we re-sign him or not, obviously coming off his second best season of his career, he's looking for a little bit of a payday, and that's kind of what Joe Burrow does. He makes the tight ends look really great, and then they go get paid somewhere else. Hopefully this year we can pay Mike Gesicki and stop doing this carousel of tight ends, because I hate that. That's why I want to draft Tyler Warren so bad, but you guys seem to hate it. But anyways, thank you so much for watching the Bengals Digest channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Only 10% of you are watching right now. Subscribe. Please do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. We are looking to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the month, and I know we can get it. We can probably get it before even the half-day mark of this month. That made no sense. I think we can hit 1,000 before the halfway mark of the month, if that makes sense. But thank you so much for watching the Bengals Digest channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, like I said, and comment down below what you think about Joe Burrow restructuring, about Tee Higgins, and then what you felt about watching the NFL awards and seeing one Bengal, and it was Joe Burrow for the comeback player of the year, not a Triple Crown winner winning offensive player of the year, and not a sack leader winning defensive player of the year. Let me know how that made you feel. But I'm Carson Lokey for the Bengals Digest channel. I'll see you next time.